Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm sporting my new alpaca sweater. It's so soft. I have known about the character of Deadpool for ages. And I've read a few of the comics, not many. And some of them I found quite entertaining, but a number of them I found excessively violent. Whereas in the film, which is excessively violent, it didn't bother me at all. So I started trying to figure out why. Why is the violence in the comic book, which is no worse than the violence in the film, why does the violence in the comic book bother me more than the violence in the film? And I realized it was the nature of the medium itself. The violence in the comic book is static on the page. It's there inside that frame. And I can look at that frame for as long as I want to. Until that frame becomes a much larger part of the story than a single frame would warrant. Just a single frame. Probably one out of, 4 or 5 on that page. Whereas in the film, the violence, which is just as high, it's on the screen and it's gone. It's part of the story. And at the same time, it's intermixed with the score, with the dialogue, with the background, and it's all moving in a very dynamic way. The violence is part of the story. And I cannot make the violence a bigger component of the story because it's all one smooth, flowing, seamless whole. Whereas in the comic book, that frame just sits there. And it can be as much of the story as I want it to be. Or as much of the story as that gets stuck in my head. Now, any of those who know me well, that's not where my analysis of the situation ended. I began to go a little deeper and try to figure out not just the surface reasoning, static image, flowing dynamic whole, but why am I fixating on that static image? And why do I find the violence in the dynamic, smooth, flowing whole more acceptable? Sorry. And she knows. And then it harkens back to my own childhood. And my own trauma. My own suffering. And for a whole lot of my life, I was stuck in some of those frames. Those frames became bigger and bigger and bigger until they filled the page, they filled the room. Even though they were always just a frame on the page. My perception of that frame, my perception of that event, that instance of suffering, was out of proportion to the event itself. Now, I'm not comparing my suffering to anyone else. You can't do that. I'm just talking about mine. And I'm not dismissing it. I'm not playing it down. But it was one instance in the seamless, flowing, dynamic whole that is my life and is me. And I'm in a place now where I'm moving along. I'm that moving picture. I've put it into perspective. Haven't forgotten it. I have forgiven some people. Haven't forgotten it. I'm not erasing it. I'm not dismissing it or downplaying it. It has as much importance as it warrants. more. It deserves my attention. It deserves my memory. It deserves to be acknowledged and be accepted. It does not deserve to dominate my life. So now, they aren't frames on the page. They are just moments in my life that are part of the whole. And as I move forward, more and more of my life is beyond those instances of suffering. I'll encounter new ones. We all will. We'll lose people. Bad events will happen. I've lived through a house fire, car accidents, the deaths of those I've loved. And it'll happen again. All of those are moments. They are not the whole. They are not my life. They are not me. They are just part of it. My life is bigger than those moments. My I am bigger than those moments. So, a fourth wall breaking, violent Bugs Bunny character has helped lead me to a deeper understanding of who I am, where I've been, and where I'm going. As part of my daily prayers, I have a saying I use. I've been saying it for years. I say it outside my prayers, but it's always in my prayers, every day. Truth is truth, regardless of the source. In this case, it wears a mask, and it's just a little crazy. But still, it's truth. And it's a pretty good day when you find something like that.